Powered by Passion. It's National Auto Care's Fixed Ops 5 with your host, National Fixed Operations Training Manager, Corey Smith.
Welcome to Fixed Ops 5. I'm your host, Corey Smith. Alongside me is Chris Wilson, account executive with Caffeine Management, powered by National Auto Care. Chris,
that's right.
Thank you for being a part of the podcast, buddy.
Thank you for having me on.
We're going to get right into this, the meat and potatoes of this topic right here, which is really near and dear to my heart. And you and I, this really started with just having a conversation with each other. And so the topic is F&I. Is it similar to service advisors? And, before we get into diving deep into this, because this is going to be a great topic, give me some background on yourself. How many years have you been working, or did you work in the dealership side of the business?
Yeah, so good question. We always joke about it because we say that you never really intend to get into the car business. It's kind of like eating at Denny's. Nobody really intends to go there. You just look up at 2 a.m. and you're there all of a sudden, right?
Right.
But I started off in sales, and I worked my way into F&I, and I was a producer, a director. Did all aspects of F&I for around 12 years, and I was in the automotive side for 15. I've done everything from sales manager all the way up to general manager. So yeah, that's kind of my experience.
Wow, that's great. So now let's go into the topic. Now that we have your background and your credentials, which are amazing, in your mind, how is F&I similar to being a service advisor?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that there are so many similarities between the two. And when I was a general manager, I got to notice what those similarities were. I would say the first thing, and you can ask anybody that is in any of those positions, whether it's F&I or a service advisor, is there is tremendous pressure to make money in those departments. I mean, the dealership ultimately relies on those departments for income and profitability too. So that's one part. I mean, I think another similarity is that the customers are coming to you. Like when I was selling cars, I would have to go out there and get my own customers and figure out how to do that. But with finance, the customers come to you, and you have to deal with the mindset that they're in, and the mindset that the salesperson put them in whenever they land in your office. Kind of the same thing as with service.
Mm-hmm.
These customers are coming in on the drive. Some of them are coming in for routine maintenance. Some of them are coming in with a bad experience in the past. Some of them are coming in with a big repair. So I think navigating the psychology is a big part in both of those roles. So
yeah, I would have to agree with you on that.
Absolutely. So, I think the main thing that you have to think about, though, is the biggest similarity is what the customer truly wants. I mean, I think in F&I, or when a customer comes on the drive for service, the customers really just want to know what the facts are, and they want to know that you are someone that's got credibility. They can believe you and that they can trust you. Now, don't get me wrong. They don't want someone out there trying to build rapport and talk about their kid's softball game. I mean, they want a transaction to be quick, right?
Yeah, right.
They want it to be professional. They want it to be painless as possible. So they want the facts, and they want options on what they can do to take care of the situation that they're in, so that they can make a decision on their own. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, people love to buy things. They just don't like to be sold. So give them the facts, tell them what their exposures are, give them some solutions, and let them decide. It's really that simple. They'll pick more options than you could ever sell them when you do it correctly. So it's kind of funny that. In finance, one of our rules is that you must offer the customer every single product that they qualify for every single time without exception. So I think that's a good rule of thumb for service as well. If they're in there and they're in need of 7 service items, but we only offer them 3 items because we're assuming that they're not going to purchase the other 4. Number one, our profits are going to go down, and number two, our customer satisfaction goes down as well, because they're not getting the services that they actually need. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go in there and recommend things that aren't needed, but anything that's actually needed as far as the servicing on that vehicle goes, needs to be offered 100% of the time. So from a leadership role, so whoever's over that department, they need to be inspecting what they expect. Just the way it is in finance is the same way it is in service. If I look at my menu in the finance side of the deal, my F&I menu, I can look at the work that was done, the products that were offered, and make sure that they're doing what I would expect them to do on a deal-to-deal basis. And I think that might be a good idea for service as well, just to kind of look at those periodically, inspect them, and see what products and services they're offering, and are they doing it consistently?
Yeah, and I love that, because we're doing a disservice by not giving those customers those options, whether it's in finance or service.
That's
So
right.
you can't think with the customer's wallet because you have no idea what it is. So that's perfect.
That's
Now,
right.
here's something that we haven't really talked about that I just thought of while you were talking is how much training does the F&I person get compared to the service advisor?
Right, right. That's a good question, because I've always felt like service advisors need more training. A lot of times they'll get out there, and they'll be on the drive, and they're just kind of winging it, so to speak. In F&I send these guys to an F&I training seminar. They get compliance training and all of this stuff. So I think that
Yeah.
that's something that we could all improve on in the industry, is get these guys the knowledge that they need, and feed them with the know-how to do it correctly, and do it at a high level. I think it's awesome.
Right. Because if they don't know they're doing a bad job, right? They don't know
Yeah,
they're doing a disservice.
we don't know what we don't know.
Correct. Yeah.
That's
And
the
then,
saying.
and that's perfect, because your service advisor, let's say in an average store, is touching, let's say, 18 customers a day.
Yeah,
How many is your F&I manager touching every day on that, if you're comparing the two in the same
right.
same ratio store, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I think, as we progress going forward, in 2021 and 2022, it's really, if you look at those departments as being similar. Now I've got to, if I'm a GM or an owner, or even someone in your position, I'm talking to leadership saying, listen, you spend X amount of dollars in F&I and you
Yeah.
produce X amount. Can you imagine what you would do with double the clients, training your service team, and how much you would get out of it, right? Your
Oh, yeah,
ROI would be
that's huge.
huge. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So answer me this question: how can those two departments really communicate better and be more of a team? Because it almost seems like, I was a service writer, right? So
Mhm.
I'll just say you and I really didn't get along because I felt like you set me up to fail because you told the customer
That's right.
that everything's covered under bumper to bumper. Oh, that
Yeah,
Chris, he drives
that's
me
right.
nuts. You know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
how can they communicate better, and how can they be a more formal unit?
I think that culture is started at the top, actually. So when I was in the retail side, I'd always make sure that I included my sales and my service departments in functions together. So I know it sounds like a small thing, but that's where it begins, because, like, for example, sometimes we would have a Saturday sales meeting outside, and then invite the service team and do some type of competition just to get the blood flowing early on a Saturday morning. So those types of things go a long way to build that camaraderie, and the teamwork side of it too. So once you have the culture, then it becomes a lot easier for them to see how they can help each other, because they actually want to help each other. So build the culture, create that want to, and then you're going to see a lot more of them naturally helping each other, because that's just what good employees do, is they want the other person to succeed if they know each other. So
Right.
you'll start seeing a lot more of service coming to F&I, helping them sell service contracts, or the finance team even going to the service drive, and helping out with a customer that maybe misunderstood things, or think about this. What if that service advisor calls in a claim and is having trouble getting that claim pushed through? Now you've got somebody on the F&I side that knows the letter of what that contract says and can actually help that go through. So I think it all starts with that culture, and the leadership of the dealership has to start that.
Yeah, I really like that a lot, because when I got, more years into the business, I actually, before I called in a claim, would go sit and talk to my finance manager saying, how do I word this so that I don't, get a red flag, or how can I talk about this part, so that I can get somebody out here to inspect it, to get this moving forward. Because in my mind, the lifts that I have behind me are worth X amount of dollars to me, and I got to get that car in and out as fast as possible.
You don't want them just sitting there on those lifts.
No, that doesn't make me any money.
That's right.
So this topic, we could expand upon this and talk about it for days, but I think what you've talked about and how we've really brought this together, what are your 3 takeaways in your mind of this episode that a service advisor who's listening can take away, an agent like yourself can take away, and somebody at the dealership leadership level can take away from this episode?
Yeah, I think the ultimate takeaway is ultimately we are one team. It's one culture, and there's an old saying in the car business that says sales will sell the first vehicle, but service is actually going to sell the rest of them by way of taking care of that customer and keeping them coming back to the dealership, so that whenever they are ready for another vehicle, they buy from us. So we really are dependent on each other for long-term success. The more quickly we understand that, the better allies we're going to be than adversaries. The faster each department's going to grow, they're going to be more profitable. Plus, the last thing you ever want is for a customer or even other employees to see 2 different departments bickering over something. So I think if we can learn how to work together and solve our issues in private, and then be one united front in the public eye, I think that's the biggest takeaway that we could ever get from this, is that that's the goal.
Yeah. So if I hear you correctly, it's if no matter what position I'm in, it's how can I get on the same playing field as my team member that works for the same dealership that I do. And if I'm at the F&I side of it, listening to this, how can I, have a better understanding of what service goes through, so we can get along better, and recognizing that. And as a leadership, it may be just something as, like you said, talking about it, or job shadowing somebody in a different department, understanding what they go through in the course of a day, because I really don't know what you, Chris, go through in the F&I box on a daily basis, just like you don't know what I go through writing up, all those customers, right? So I think that's a great, takeaway across the board for everyone listening. And Chris, I really appreciate you taking the time to,
thank you,
to pause and have this topic and really bring it and shine a light on it. Here at NAC, we provide the tools, the knowledge, and the training needed to unlock the potential of your dealership. So for more information on this topic and others, you can submit a question, you can be a guest. Feel free to send me an email. My email address is csmith@nationalautocare.com. Chris, that's all the time that we have for today. Again, thank you for being a part of this episode. And I end with every episode asking the same question. Will you come back?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I enjoy this, and I'm glad that we've got to meet and start to understand each other's side of the business a little better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you closely. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you for watching and listening to National Auto Care's Fixed Ops 5 with Corey Smith, powered by Passion. Be sure to watch and listen to the next episode on the 5th and 20th of every month.